All right, well, welcome to the basics of residential green remodeling and construction. This entire session is going to be covering the holistic design concepts of the 5 pillars of green building: materials, energy, health, water, and place, and the idea of tying them all together to make a better residential building for your clients. In our last module 4, we covered materials and resources, durability, what materials are made out of, how they're greener, as well as the idea of keeping water out of homes and managing waste during the construction process. In this session, we're going to be covering water. This refers to water conservation, water efficiency, water catchment, and water remediation. One of the biggest reasons that water is important, no matter where you live, even if you're in the Great Lakes states where I am, is drought. Is a growing concern. If you've seen what's going on in California, aquifers are being capped all over the country, shrinking rivers and lakes, and this idea that future conflicts may even be happen because of lack of water. And so this idea of conserving water and this idea of having cleaner water is very important. Again, droughts are expanding. You can check out more information online if you just look at what's going on with droughts both in groundwaters and lakes around the country. On the left there, bottom left, EPA's water sense has a lot of great information. Obviously, wasting water outside has a huge impact because of improper watering. Watering the house and watering the sidewalk due to poor design systems, doesn't seem to ever help the sidewalk or the house grow. But besides that, there's other strategies that you can use, and so this is one big issue with water waste. Waste is also happening indoors with just leaks, which can also, leading back to our last module on materials, cause all sorts of problems on the inside with moisture and rot in the house, but then also just a massive waste of water. And so working with your clients, especially on an existing home, to identify any leaks and put a scope of work together to repair those can help make a huge impact on reducing water waste. Some of the simple ways to do that is just shutting off or making sure all the water is shut off in the house, taking a photo of the water meter, and then waiting 2 hours and taking another photo and seeing if it's moved. You can also put food coloring in the toilet tank and then see if it's drained into the bowl. And those are some simple ways, but you can check out Fix a Leak on the EPA Water Sense page as well. So stop and think for a second, what uses the most water on average in residential buildings? So we're just talking average across the country. That can change for many different reasons, but what is the average? And so if you said toilets, you would have gotten that right. Toilets are the biggest water waste that we know of in this country. And so toilets make up, again, if you've got, if you've got a site, a landscape that's using a lot of water, that could be a little bit different. But on average, toilets are going to make a huge component of that water use. But the rest of everything else, does follow, pretty close in line with that as far as indoor water use. So terms to know: GPF, gallons per flush, is for toilets. GPM, gallons per minute, for aerators and faucets. WFC is water factor. GPC is gallons per cycle. Graywater is, pretty hot topic now, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But that is, water that hasn't touched any kind of food, organics, and that can be, basically can be reused in other systems, while black water is the type of water that has come across food or other organics like that and needs to be remediated and should not be reused immediately without filtration. Hydrozone is something that, similar water needs for certain plants when you're considering planting. Peak water month is something you might consider during a design landscape aspect of, that's that one time during that 1 month in your design plan that the plants we're using need a lot of water. Evapotranspiration is some calculations and formulas that have been determined for certain plants and bushes and trees as to how much water their leaves give off. Water Sense, again, that's an EPA guidance and certification program that can help you out. And then the Water Efficiency Rating System, which we'll cover in the end, is a program much like what we've discussed in our energy module, but is a way to rate and score a home indoor and out on water efficiency and get an idea on how to make improvements. So toilets, existing toilets we tend to find in older homes and buildings are 6 gallons per flush. Code usually drives that down to 1.6. You can find good toilets ranging from 1.28 to 1.1 to 1. And now there's some really innovative toilets on the market that can get all the way down to 0.8 and can be retrofitted into existing buildings and work just the same, as well as they can be utilized to they can be actually more durable than their 1.6 front toilets. Innovation in toilets, we've seen composting toilets, which can take waste and turn it into food for outdoor or for plants. We've seen waterless urinals that actually work now and can be used in multifamily settings, not typically used in single-family homes. Certain toilets that can divert waste in different areas, so there's P-trap toilets that you may want to divert waste that way, and then there's Waterstones certified toilets as well. The other thing to note that dual flush toilets, especially in situations where people may not, depending on how it's designed, there's some really poorly designed dual flush toilets that unfortunately people aren't sure which way to use it. Also, we've heard about a lot of failures in dual flush toilets. It is a unique concept, but it is one that we see kind of going by the wayside in favor of just single flush toilets that are really low flow. Aerators, pretty straightforward. Again, here's just a list of what we typically see versus what's better, what's best. Depending on where the water heater is located in the project, the lower flow you get on this, obviously the less hot water you're going to use, but the longer it's going to take to get the water warm and get it to the pipe, depending on many situations. So that is one thing to consider. Innovation-wise, we've seen these go down to 0.38, and a lot of times you can just retrofit these right onto existing aerators, and then of course look for Waterstones certification. Here again are the numbers, or here they are for shower heads, where existing shower heads typically are. In older homes, what the typical shower being installed still is, good, better, best. Those lower ones, it just depends on, it gets to a point where, even the ones and the 1.5s or 1.2s, you don't notice a difference. But if you get pretty low, you might notice a difference. So if you are someone who's pretty picky with water comfort, it can get pretty low, and it can also take a while for the hot water to get there. Innovation, there's shower start devices that can essentially just have the water drip a little bit. This is more for energy. And then once the water heater heats up and gets water to the shower, it can be activated. So if you walk away, the shower start stops it. There's some really other cool technology going on out there that is supposed to be able to get the flow rate of water really low, and then give you a shower that you don't even notice is any different. And then of course look for Waterstones certification for your clients. Clothes washers, again, when you're helping your clients spec clothes washers, look for Energy Star, look for a water factor of 4 or lower. Look for ones that have advanced spin cycles, which are more in the energy category, but can help dry clothes so you don't have to run a dryer as long. And then just let your clients know that the front loading versus the top loading is much more energy efficient. As far as dishwashers goes, when you're working with your clients to purchase these, just let them know that overall a dishwasher is more energy efficient than not, unless they're just using paper plates. Choose Energy Star on those and look for a gallons per cycle of 3.5 or lower. One of the things when it comes to especially existing homes or rural homes or homes in cities that don't have great water pressure is doing water pressure testing with your clients. It's a real, you can work with a rater to do this, or you can purchase these water pressure testing kits. And you want to make sure the water pressure is at least 60 psi. If it's higher, what it's going to do is increase, it's going to basically nullify those flow rates. So all the flow rates, their ratings don't mean much because they'll all be higher if there's higher water pressure. Also, higher water pressure can lead to more leaks. And then, of course, lower water pressure, which you typically find in like more rural areas, is going to lead to just even lower flow, and then make the lower flow devices you install not work as well. And so it's important to hit around a 60 psi. There are water pressure regulators that you can help your clients get if the tests aren't coming out in that 60 range. So this is just a basic crude example of a Graywater system, and Graywater is pretty hip, pretty cool. A lot of people approach us and say, oh, we need to do Graywater. That's the cool thing to do to save water. And just believe it or not, all those other things we talked about, stopping leaks, getting more water efficient toilets, fixtures, and aerators, those are the types of things you want to do way before you ever consider a Graywater system. Number one, because they're going to save more water, and because they're cheaper, they're lower hanging fruit. But Graywater is definitely an interesting topic. It's the whole idea of basically your bath water and your sink water. Again, your bathroom sink, not your kitchen sink, where you've got black water from organics, goes into some sort of filtration device, and then that goes right into the toilet, and then that toilet water can be flushed from the Graywater, and of course you can see it becomes black water from there. And so, that is an easy way to reduce your water demand, but again, it can be more costly and expensive to retrofit these types of systems in the home. So outdoors is eliminating turf is one way to do this, especially non-drought tolerant turf, and replacing it with native, adaptive, or drought tolerant plantings that just utilize less water. There's some other benefits to doing those kinds of things, and we'll cover that in our next module on place. And then food gardening, which can be water intensive, but you're using that water for food. So you have to eat. So, typically most water modeling programs really don't count food watering gardens. And then, of course, if you get into the ideas of permaculture and many other things, there are better ways you can do food gardens that reduce water needs even more. Like one of them is called hugelculture, where you can put, basically wood or rotting sticks and logs underneath a raised bed garden, and that will supply moisture and nutrients. That's one way to keep your water needs down within your food gardening. And then rainwater catchment systems. So again, catching water off the roof, either for outdoor needs, for the grass, for the food garden, and or catching it for indoor needs as well can be important. So here's an example of a home that's using both native and adaptive species, which has other benefits of protecting water runoff into the Great Lakes, which is where this house is located, and then also has some other benefits of attracting local wildlife, and then really never needs to be watered, except for maybe if you do a plan like this, you might want to do. You might want to have some kind of watering system or have a watering plan to get the plants established, but then once they're established, they never need any kind of watering system. As far as rainwater catchment systems go, you've got the very basics. You've got simple rain barrels that can be integrated or purchased from your local environmental action council, all the way to full-fledged rainwater harvesting systems, which can be buried underground outside or in the basement, and can be used to, depending on your state's jurisdiction, to flush toilets, which may be legal or may, ideally in the future, the whole idea is that you could use rainwater to do basically anything you want, as long as the system is safely designed and well maintained. And so this can help you get to zero water, which is a new concept, kind of like zero energy, and it localizes water and water efficiency. So it localizes water on the site. And then if you can use all rainwater, sometimes water efficiency becomes a moot point because you're using all of the local rainwater that falls on your site. And then, of course, what's important is that this rainwater gets right back into the aquifer at the rate that it was taken out, and also just as clean. So using blackwater remediation strategies such as living systems or rain gardens or other systems that can take the waste, potentially give you fresh compost, and then put the clean water right back into the local aquifer or back into the city's sewer system, and not be a strain on that system. It'd be really important to help your clients who have interest in full-fledged water efficiency. So outdoor sites, using things like permeable pavers in junction with native landscaping, again, to make sure that water gets right back into the water aquifer, and helps with reducing outdoor water needs from sprinklers or other systems that draw down our water usage. So some different tools you can use. The EPA WaterSense Outdoor Water Budget tool is a free tool that you can use where you can input some data during the design phase. You can work with your client, and you don't have to be necessarily a landscape architect or professional to use this, but you can work with your client to help design the best landscape plan for them, whether they're redoing an existing site or building a new site. Here's where you can input the square footages, select some of the basics of what it is. Here you might need a little bit of education on what kind of water demand, whether it's high, medium, low, of what these use, and there's some online resources from WaterSense that help you figure that out. And then whether it's being irrigated, and you can use this plan to help determine how low your client wants to go and what kind of water demand they want to use, and you can even peg it to what water costs are so they can understand what it's going to cost them based on what their plans are. And then out prints a report on how much water the landscape plan is being used, and you can use that with your client to help tout how efficient your water landscaping plan is, and sell that. So it helps all your plans all the way to help your client, again, understand what their water needs are going to be. And then from there, there are some other water performance calculation tools out there on the market. The outdoor water calculation numbers can be used in conjunction with these total water performance calculators that you can find that are utilized in many different green building certification programs. But what you can do is get a whole holistic idea, depending on all the systems you're putting in your client's house or potentially changing, of how much water each of those systems are going to use, and then what kind of anticipated water use the home is going to have, and then ideally what kind of anticipated water cost, similar to the similar idea of designing for clients an energy cost and then optimizing it is the same for water. And so then you can tweak certain things with your clients to say, we really want to hit these water targets, but we're not going to settle for lower flow showers or whatever. You can work with them to tweak some of these numbers in different areas to find the water offsets in other ways, similar to what you would do on an energy score. So we've got a session on this called Wading into Water Efficiency and Rating Scores that go over some of these concepts and really actually takes a deeper dive into water efficiency and what it looks like, as well as utilizing a growing full-fledged water efficiency rating score for your client to help them understand what water is, and then for you to help communicate that to the market that you're a contractor or designer that can build and design more water efficiently. All right, so that wraps up our water module, module 5. We're going to get into place, having a sense of place in module 6. So I hope you will join us.